So I think we should begin now. Is that okay? พี่เอก what do you? So I think good morning everyone here in Bangkok, Thailand, and from Bangkok and from everywhere and in Thailand, and welcome to our NSTDA ACCEL Talk series number 6. And today we have a very fascinating topics here. I mean, we are honored to have 3 speakers from Singapore. The first one is Joshua. He is the CEO of Grow Accelerators. So today he will share his stories. I mean, Grow Accelerator, what it is, and what they do, and how it works, and what it takes to be there. And hopefully you guys can see and you know, I mean, I want you guys to have an opportunity to be there in the future. So try to ask a lot from Joshua, okay? And we're about to have our programs together with Grow, and it's more than welcome for all of you to join our programs, that which we will be informed in a short notice. And also we are also honored to have our 2 speakers, which is an alumni from Singapore football. Our first speaker is Kun Travin. He's a CEO of CRUST Group, and also Kun Rassarin. Well, actually she's Thai and work in Singapore, and now she's in Bangkok, right? So Kun Rassarin, she is the CEO of ListenField. They also will share their stories. I mean, their startup stories and what it is to be there in Grow Acceleration. And I don't know, we can talk to them whether we can find an opportunity to work together with both of them. Okay, so before we begin, I would like to invite Dr. Ek to give a warm welcome to our good friends.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, all the speakers, Joshua, Travin, and Kun Rassarin, and good morning to all the participants in our accelerators and others participants as well. So today we are very honored to have our speakers from Singapore. And as Ken mentioned that we had a conversation with Grow with Joshua actually, and we think that we are discuss our future collaboration together with Grow, and I think it's a good opportunity to ask Joshua to share us what they are doing in Singapore, in Singaporean accelerators, so that we know how others doing elsewhere. And as we ourselves are running the accelerator as well, so that's, I think there's a story to share among us. And also we are lucky to have the 2 alumni of Accelerator in Singapore. One is actually Thai researchers who's build up the company and grow the company in Singapore, and also another one, Travin, Singh. And I look at your 2 teams, 2 company portfolio. It's very interesting. So I think we could learn more from you, and also we would love to connect with Grow in the futures, working with Photonipolis and also our accelerators. So I think today's session would be very inspiring for us as well, and it could be a good sharing sessions. So I think we would learn a lot during the next hours or 2. Thank you very much, and I think back to Gay.
Yeah, okay. So without further ado, I would like to invite Joshua to share your stories.
Great, thank you so much. So firstly, thank you to Dr. Akinong, Kay, and Nick for inviting us over and share what we do. So we very much like to collaborate. I mean, that's very much the whole being of Grow. And so to be able to explore something where we can connect what we're doing here in Singapore with Thailand, that's certainly something very exciting. So today, you know, I was invited to, I guess, share a bit of story, and, you know, Dr. Akinong was saying that we want to inspire the people in the audience to really look into entrepreneurship and innovation within food and agriculture. So I've got a few things prepared. Kay, am I able to share my screen?
Sure. Okay. So
perfect. So what I'll do is I'll share a few slides just to at least anchor the conversation a little bit more. So let me set that up. Then I will be able to speak to you more freely. Okay. Screen 2. Okay. Can I just check that you are seeing the full screen and not my presentation notes? Yep, perfect. Okay, so maybe I'll just give a brief introduction about myself. So I'm the CEO of Grow. We're an accelerator based out of Singapore. A little bit about my background. So for the past 10 or 12 years, I've always specialized. I was more in the consulting space, but very much specializing in 2 areas: leadership development and also innovation. And so when I approach innovation, it was always around, okay, well, what is the new and novel solution or value proposition we're bringing? And then how do you then bring that into the market, whether it's be around business model design or value proposition design? But where I then take things to the next level is the interplay between strategy and operation, and more so around how do you find the right people and capability to build the right team so you can then realize your vision. So that's very much the approach that Grow takes when we come to support startup. We look at the holistic development and how we can support the formation of an entrepreneur in its entirety. In terms of my own entrepreneur experience and background, so on the side, I have attempted to start a couple of several startups, from food packaging all the way to working with a seed R&D company in Malaysia to bring the seeds into Australia and Oceania region. Combining both experience with helping corporates, governments, and startups to accelerate and achieve future growth, but also in my learning my own war stories from my own experiences. Now, jumping to today, I'll share about 3 things, and then we can open for Q&A. One is I'll talk about Grow, who we are, and then secondly, what we're doing here in Singapore, which has a lot more in view of trying to connect with the broader ecosystem across Asia and globally. And then thirdly, give you an initiative where we can invite you to join the movement that we're creating here in Singapore. So let's kick off. As I said, Grow is an impact-focused accelerator specialized in agri-food tech. One co-founder by AgFund, which some of you may already know, is one of the most prolific venture capital investors in this space of agriculture and food technology. We are supported by a few partners, so we're increasingly looking to build our partnership network. But for example, very close link with the UNDP Global Center here in Singapore to look into sustainability and impact in food and agriculture. We Grow Asia, looking at smallholder farmer productivity and resilience, and of course the AVP and looking at philanthropic venture investments. We're dedicated tech accelerator in Southeast Asia, and I should caveat by saying that the reason why it's the first is because we don't specialize just in one area of food and agriculture, but we look at the entire value chain from what happens upstream, midstream, all the way to downstream. And so as you can see here, there are some stuff like climate smart food production, IoT precision agriculture, smart farming, urban agriculture that very much sits in the ag tech space. And then if you move all the way to the right, which is around food tech, where we're very interested in, as most of us would be tuning in, would be around the protein revolution, functional foods, food for health and wellness. But we don't forget the middle part where, sometimes it is the combination between food and agriculture, where we call food, agri-food tech. Stuff like traceability, supply chain rationalization, food valorization, those are of very much interest to us. And we're not limited to one particular area of, say, for example, livestock farming. We do look at horticulture, we do look at aquaculture. So very holistic in that regard. What do we do? I guess that's the question. We offer programs to startups across the whole spectrum from idea stage to very late stage ventures. Our sweet spot is very much in helping later stage ventures scale globally. That is our sweet spot, but we also appreciate that idea stage, early stage do benefit from our services that we provide. So you've got things like Pre-Accelerator, which is an online program. Food Bowl Accelerator, which is something that I will dive into more in this talk, and the Grow Impact Accelerator, where we invest in companies. So this is where the relationship with Ag Funder comes into play, where we invest in them and they come through a 5-month program where we help them secure opportunities in Asia, but also in their home country if they're coming from overseas, for example, the US or Europe. Land and Launch is for much more later stage established ventures or innovative small to medium-sized enterprises. It's our internationalization program for them. Grow is new. We began in late 2019, but since we started, we have really went aggressively. We had about 5 programs. Not all of them are accelerated programs. Some are pre-accelerated programs. But what we have found is that about 770 applications, startups have applied. Over 1,000 startups we've reviewed, and we've supported 56 startups, both early and late stage. Glad to see that most of, actually all of the companies coming up from our accelerator programs do successfully fundraise. This particular figure is just from cohort 1, where they've secured over 10 million. We'll update this soon, but we have 2 cohorts, 2 additional cohorts since. So this, you could see this maybe in the 20s or 30s million in terms of total amount raised. Now, that's a bit about Grow. Now I'm coming to this part around, well, why food and agriculture? Why did I, pursue down this path and looking into innovation within this space? As we all know, food is one thing that really brings everyone together. In cultures, it's something that, expresses the culture in terms of food and flavor and textures. But it's also one thing that if you have a spread of food on the table, it's what brings people together. It's the catalyst to form, relationships. So whilst food brings us together, we're also realizing that it has brought, a lot of challenges and crises that we're now very much aware of. For example, climate change and, massive deforestation. We do see issues around hunger, malnutrition, especially in Asia around smallholder farmer livelihoods and equitable living. And also, especially very much so here in Singapore, is the extraordinary amount of food losses and waste. And so I think with these challenges comes great opportunities for, entrepreneurs and innovators to find solutions to, farm better, to eat better. And so I think in that sense, from a more impact and sustainability point of view, there's certainly a real driver and almost a call to arms to do something better for a new future. Having said that, it's not all about just solving, challenges and crises. I think with the evolution and the progress of technology and thinking, we're seeing a lot of innovators and entrepreneurs pushing the boundaries of what could be. And so, for example, we're seeing things around new foods, alternative protein spaces, personalized nutrition, the connection of agriculture and the digital world in smart farming, and all around traceability to look at food safety, food security, and also quality of food. Now, combining these two, both the dark and the bright side, I think this space is an extraordinary, provides an extraordinary environment to, do really new and exciting things. And that's why, Grow, we very much just specialize in this area to support founders with a cool and novel idea to really commercialize and make the impact on a greater scale. Hence, the vision for Grow is very much this. We want to see an agriculture and food system that is sustainable and resilient. We know there are some ways of how we've farmed in the past or even utilized all the resources cannot continue the way it is. We're very interested in technology solutions that will deliver a positive impact on both people, place, and planet. And we're not naive in a sense. We really see that there is a close integration between delivering things for impact, but also the commercial side when it comes to entrepreneurship. And that's the balance that we want to create at Grow. To achieve this kind of grandeur vision, there's a saying in Grow where we always say it's passion meets hunger. Our desire is to be able to find passionate founders with great technology to then meet the hunger needs in the world, whether it's the market needs in Asia or even globally. And these hunger needs can be everything from based like stuff like we say about hunger and nutrition, or could be more things around what is the consumer need and trend that is happening in the world today. And to be able to do this is where we come in. Like Grow is all about helping startups achieve global growth. You do need to start in the home market, but here is what we're trying to do is unlock further opportunities to see are there new markets and new pockets within the world where you can actually, scale your business. Founders in the past 2 years have really seen Grow as their gateway to Asia, especially if they're coming from overseas. And when I say overseas, beyond Asia. And from Asia perspective, a launch pad for them to go into international markets. Given our connections with AgFunder, we have an extensive, at least, network across the world, and we're actively securing these kind of relationships so that we can form corridors to provide access to these new markets. At the same time, what we're doing here in Asia, which is why we're planted in Singapore, is to forge and nurture relationships with our ASEAN friends in the ASEAN region. Hence the conversation we're having with Food Innopolis. Hence the saying that we've got here in Grow is that we're rooted in Asia, but very much so globally minded. And it's something that we encourage our founders and startups to also embody. Now, why Singapore? So we're starting here, but we're not necessarily limited to this region. I mean, food and agriculture is something that is universal, it's global. But no, Enterprise Singapore has a real vision and desire to build a regional hub for agri-food tech in Singapore. But also they have encouraged us to really take a regional view, because food resilience and security is not just one nation, but it's actually to do with the relationship with the neighbors. Coming back into Grow's role, we are then really, starting with Singapore, but then wanting to work with other countries to catalyze an agri-food ecosystem here in Asia, one that can achieve the vision of sustainability and impact. Which comes to the two programs that we've got, which is an invitation, I guess, to join this movement that we're creating in agriculture and food. So last year, obviously, we began a bit on a smaller scale, where we say, okay, let's start by looking at, okay, how can we bring technologies that would deliver a tangible impact on the nation? And so this birthed a program, what we call the Food Bowl program, in this case, the Singapore Food Bowl. And we're hunting across, so there's two goals. One is to really support startups from Asia Pacific. And two is to then, help accelerate the commercialization of these technologies to address a national food agenda. In this case, with Singapore, the domestic food agenda was the 30 by 30 food narrative, and it was all around domestic food security and regional supply chain resilience. And what happened was pretty good. Like, we were very impressed with the amount of traction we got from the media and excitement to tune into this initiative. As you can see, all the different media channels have reported on the initiative, but also more pleasing was the amount of applications we received from the startup community in Asia. In 5 weeks, we got 80 applications across 12 countries in Asia Pacific, and we chose 12 companies, which you'll be hearing from two today. So ListenField and CRUST Group. But it ranged quite extensively from controlled environment agriculture to waste valorization and upcycling to new packaging solutions. So very diverse, but the lens was always around, can these technologies be applied to Singapore, and also with a view of then eventually going into the region. Given how successful this was, Enterprise Singapore challenged us to do something much more regional focused. And so coming to you this year, soon to be announced, we're earmarked it for maybe August or September, but we have not yet announced it. But we will be launching a Southeast Asia Food Bowl, which is much more regional focused. So the technologies that we want to see and support would be solutions that can benefit the broader region. And when we say region, at this stage, we'll target the ASEAN 5 countries, which includes Thailand. So that's been a very quick download of information here. I hope this has been inspirational, but also shows you what we're doing here in Singapore, and then the hope of actually involving what you're doing there in Thailand, so that we can, I guess, create both a collaborative future of what the food system here in Asia is to be.
Okay, so this is super interesting and exciting for us here, in Thailand. So I think we get an idea that what it is, Grow Accelerators, and also what did they been done in the past and about to do with us as well, in terms of football. And so I will go first for the question. So what do you see, in Thailand? Why Thailand? So,
okay, just
what do you see in opportunities? Yeah.
Try to come back to this WebEx here. Bear with me while I find where the screen is on my computer.
Okay. Is that okay? Okay.
Okay, I'm back.
So the first question is why Thailand? What do you see? I mean, and opportunities.
Well, the interesting thing is, I mean, we call our program the Southeast Asian Food Bowl, but Thailand's always been known as a food basket of Asia. There's a lot of food manufacturing that happens there. So I think, obviously, when looking from the growth perspective around shaping what the future food system could look like, we obviously cannot not consider Thailand. So that's one thing. And secondly, I think there's a lot of interesting things that are coming up from Thailand that we may not be aware of. So we really want to connect with what's going on on the ground with the founders in food and agriculture, and really support them to be successful globally.
Okay, so this is very clear. I mean, my second questions. I mean, what it takes to be in the accelerator. I mean, the selection criteria, or I mean, any kind of advice that in case some Thai startups, especially from us, who want to be accelerated by Grow. So what would you recommend anyway?
Yeah. So generally across the board, there are a few things that we would look into. So that's a very good question. Thanks for that. I mean, each program has a different selection criteria, but we won't get into those details. What I'll cover is overall the kind of attributes we will want to look for, which we deem are highly desirable in a venture, but also in a founder. So we usually look into the quality of the founders or the founding team. Is there a good balance between technical and commercial? But also one thing that is difficult to, I guess, replicate is the fire in them. I always think that entrepreneurship is a spirit. Yes, you can train them in skills and capability, but the drive and the spirit and the fire, that's something you cannot, you need to catch it, right? You need to catch it rather than learn it. So that's what we hope to find. So I'll start off with that. Secondly, I will look at the value proposition. How compelling is it doing? Is it solving a big enough problem for the end consumer or the customer? And which is then linked to the third element around business model. Have they actually got a way to not just create the value, but capture the value for themselves and for the investors? And then fourthly would be the actual technology itself. How unique, how novel it is. Is there a particular defensible moat in it? So that's sort of like the four areas that we'll look into. Obviously, companies will be at various different stages. And so, part of our role is to see the potential among these four criteria and trying to unlock them. And then maybe the question you might have in mind is that what happens if I don't tick all four boxes? Does that mean I'm out of it? Or I can't apply to the program? So the answer is not necessarily. And that's why we have a whole portfolio of programs. The accelerator programs like the Food Bowl and the Grow Impact Accelerator are obviously very competitive. Like the Grow Accelerator, we had 250 applications this year and only could choose like 10. But that's where we have other programs where we can try to feed the other applications through them and then get them ready to then reapply to our programs.
So, for the pandemic like this, I mean, is that necessary for the Thai startups to be there physically, or they just, I mean, I don't know, they get apply and then they get selected, or whether they need to be there or they can work it from here?
Very good question. I mean, in an ideal world, I would so like for the Thai staffs to come over and keep me company here in our big co-working space.
Okay.
But we're fully aware that given the travel restrictions, that's almost not a possibility in the short term and maybe a probability in the long run. So just like every company had to pivot during the pandemic, we pivoted as well to a fully online program. So with the Food Bowl, for example, was delivered completely online. Our current initiatives is also online. So I guess the trend forward is we will continue this way. And then as travel, look at maybe some who can travel here, have the in-person activities more. Yeah.
Okay, so I think internet from Joshua might have. That's okay. Oh, okay, now you get back.
Oh, am I back here?
Yeah, he's back.
So the answer is
yeah.
not necessarily to be there, right? I mean, we can work it online.
Correct. That's right. Yeah. So all the programs are delivered virtually.
Okay.
And then one thing that Grow is very cognizant of is, I think travel will not be something we probably won't go back to the way travel was in the past. In the short term, it's a transition. Hence, we have many ways to help teams have a physical presence here in Singapore if they desire to. So we have ways to help teams so that they still country, but in another country, in this case, maybe or in the region.
Okay.
I think there's a question in the chat box, Gay.
Okay. So okay. So my last question before I start to ask for questions from the floor is that, is there any particular time, I mean, to apply for this one?
For the Southeast Asia football?
Yes.
Yes. So
and also that one, the pre-accelerations that you mentioned in your slides as well.
Sure. Okay. For the football, we have not officially announced a date yet. So you actually like a few announce it, but I think mark in your calendar late August, early, so we announce qualifications, and about 6 weeks to. If it goes well, then we start the program likely early December, and then the new year.
Okay. I think there might some. Again, could you please wrap that up again? I mean, it's kind of frictions from the internet. I mean, the time again. Hello, Joshua.
I'm
That's
here.
okay,
So
that's
if I turn on my video, maybe it'll be better.
Yeah. Yes.
Is this much better? Okay,
Yes, it's much better without video.
So I have an idea. Why don't you write it down? I mean, for the particular time for both of the programs in the chat box for in order to make it clear for all of us. Is that possible for Joshua?
So aim for September 21.
Okay.
Applications will be September 21. And then program expected to start in December.
Okay.
So Joshua, we are starting to have questions from the floor. The first question is, what is the main obstacle that startups must overcome to be successful? I mean, in your point of view.
Yes, I think there's two things. So that's a great question. Two obstacles. One is, I will always say, it's the problem solution fit. Startups, they do have a great idea, but then the first thing I always ask is, how big of a problem are you solving with the idea, and who is that? So that would be the first thing I would say to gain clarity on, which then leads to the second point is, who's the customer? Do you have a big enough demand from them to not just say it's a cool idea, but to actually say that's a cool idea and I will actually pay for it. So to summarize, those would be the two obstacles I would say is the first thing to address. And then if you can address that, then you'll be able to not just create value, but also capture value.
Okay. So our next question is, okay, this is very small. To join your program, what tractions that SMEs or startups should have or achieve that you are looking for?
Yeah, okay. So maybe each program has a different requirements for traction. So obviously the earlier stage programs, like the idea stage is pretty much you need an idea. to begin with. For the football program, for example, we expect at least a minimum that you have an idea that already is sort of ready to go into the market or in the market with some customers. And then for the Grow Impact Accelerator, yeah, you definitely need to be in the market with your solution.
Okay. So that is okay. So there. That's it for the question from the chat box. Anyone would like to ask? I mean, open the microphones. Feel free to do it, or raise your hands, so you can see the reactions bottom on the bottom, so you can raise your hand, so I can help you talk to Joshua. Is there any?
Okay,
All right.
I have to ask something. Can I?
Sure.
Yes. Okay. So Joshua, I thought we all here is interested in startup and about the business in the food. You think in the Asia we have any opportunity to reach out the market out of the Asia, or something that you would that you see the opportunity about that?
Thank you so much for the question. The answer will be very unique. A short answer is yes, but then I would caveat that by saying it's very unique based on the startup itself. So when we look at a startup solution and business, obviously we need to look at which is the logical next market to target, and also the resources to achieve those things. For example, like if say you start in Thailand, which already has a huge population, and then if you say based on the value proposition of that company, actually, China could be the next market. And China in itself is a huge market with very different dynamics. Like, one province is almost the size of a country. And so in that sense, I would say, if that is the trajectory of that company, then, we would say, well, focus on securing Asia first. Now, the other way is, I guess the question is, can you see the startup expand beyond Asia? So yes. For example, one of the companies we're working with now is looking at, automating the ability to pick chilies from farms. And so in Malaysia, yes, there's a huge opportunity there. But then we say for the next high value market opportunity would be in the US, because there's the jalapenos and the different, chili farms there. And so that made sense for them to then go into those markets. So a little bit long-winded question to answer, but it's, in that essence, yes, there's always opportunities for Asian companies to, achieve growth outside of Asia. But then I would always take a more commercial and pragmatic approach to assess, which is the next logical market to expand before just going, on an aspirational journey to just reach any market outside of Asia. Does that answer the question?
Oh, really? Thanks, Joshua.
You're most welcome.
All right. There are more questions in the chat box. Kun Siwaporn asks that how do you see the food market trend after the pandemic, especially in Southeast Asia, and what will be in trend in 5 years?
A little bit hard to identify the trends in 5 years, but certainly the trend as part of the pandemic. So I think there's a lot of research around this, is a lot more people are looking for foods that will help boost their immunity. So health and nutrition is definitely now coming back into the front of minds for a lot of end consumers. Obviously, the stronger your body is, the better you are to be able to resist the disease and viruses. So that's certainly one trend that's coming back in play. Given also the restrictions in terms of how much you can dine out, eat out, home delivery services are becoming much more of a core service. So cloud kitchens, home delivery, those things, I think we could see some of those coming back to a significant play within as a trend. Yeah, a great question.
There is more questions. At a startups or SMEs, when you are looking to target market beyond local markets, do you have any tips or techniques on ways to verify the problem solution fit and customer profile? This is a very good question.
Yeah, that is a question. Not an easy one to answer in like just a couple of minutes, but I'll try to attempt to do that. Let me think. So if you want to go beyond the local market, how do you verify problem solution fit? All right. So one is you begin by saying, okay, well, if the customer in your current market is, say, health conscious, millennial, then the next thing you need to consider is, can you replicate the same customer segment in the new market? And then you need to verify whether or not that same customer segment in the new group also has the same problem to solve and the same benefits and jobs they're trying to get achieved. So that would be my one tip, I guess, is, always start from the customer point of view and then see how much you can replicate and then how much you then need to adjust or adapt to the new market.
All right, thank you.
And then with lean startup, just be lean, just run quick experiments to try get, pre-orders or whatever. And I guess I'm talking about B2C business. If it's a B2B, then obviously get on the phone, try to see if you can speak to your B2B customer and just get as much insight as you can.
Okay, so next question is, could you please give us an example of success cases of the startups and what is the valuations?
Sure. So I think we've got Travin and Rassarin here who are very successful startups.
Okay.
So
they will share their stories in the short moment. Okay, so you can skip this one. What about the valuation? Could you mention a little bit or touch a little bit on the valuations?
Yeah, so I think with this one is a little bit much more difficult for me to answer because when we invest in companies, we actually don't put on a false valuation on companies. We invest through what we call a SAFE, simple agreement for future equity. So we put in this case, $100K US, and then we wait for the next round of valuation to convert that into equity. Okay. So for us is we work very hard to actually, help, build their business, their traction, and then we wait for that valuation. So on the top of my mind, we have a few teams that have successfully raised, but I'm unfortunately unable to give you that exact number in this forum.
All right. Next question is, do you have any interest in carbon/water footprint or carbon credit in this field?
Absolutely. Okay. We have a team that's looking at seaweed production, and that's all around how do you sequester carbon using seaweeds. Definitely within the field of impact and sustainability. So yes. Okay, so
I think this one. What is the most important trend or criteria of new startups who deal with food loss? Food loss and food waste, I guess, yes.
This is a great question. I think it's also great we have CRUST and Travin here to talk about that. So food loss, yes, I think it's what can you do to, first of all, minimize the food loss in the first place? But then the other trend is, okay, if food loss is already, if we see food loss, what can we do with those food or ingredients to convert it into other products? So maybe, Travin, you could cover this when you speak after.
All right, then. I think next question is I would like to adjust a little bit. What is the trends of Singapore food startups then? What did they do? I mean.
Yeah, so a very interesting question. I think every time I see a trend in each country, I realize it's very reflective of the mindset of the people here, their consumer trends, what they like to do, hobbies and all. But it's also, I guess, colored by what the government is also, encouraging young startups and founders to look into. With Singapore, the whole narrative of food safety security was around 30 by 30, had a very strong focus on protein production. aquaculture in particular, just because, we eat a lot of fish here, eggs, leafy veggies. And so the trends we're seeing, at least with, startups trying to respond to this need, is around, new ways of, urban farming, controlled environment agriculture, new ways of producing protein, be it plant-based or cell-based meats. And then, aquaculture, just, different ways of, farming, producing food. What we are interested at Grow is the technologies to enable these productions. So any things like, lighting, sensors that can enhance the productions would be of interest to us.
Hey, our next question is, what do you think about plant-based startups in Asia?
What do I think in general?
Yeah.
I think they're great. I think it gives consumers, more choices in terms of what they can eat. What I'm actually interested in looking is how does the plant-based movement unfold, and how that would differ from, say, the European countries. So having lived in Australia, I've seen, my friends and consumers approach the whole plant-based movement quite differently. So whereas Asia, where, like eating vegetarian is something that's quite common, in cultures. The different religious groups, they already eat plant-based stuff, and mock meat, I remember growing up eating, char siu that was made from, bean curd, so this was already very known, but I guess it's now coming into the market and mainstream market in a very different way. So to summarize, I think it's great, but I'm also very curious to see how the movement differs between Asia versus the West. And maybe even.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Joshua. So my idea is, I think there are lots of people would like to ask you. So anyone would like to ask Joshua, please write it down in chat box, and maybe during your time that two startups from Grow present their stories, you could help. Getting answer to the questions that wrote down in the chat box. Is that possible? Okay. So I think we could move to our next stories, which is a Grow Accelerator alumni. The first one is Kun Travis from CRUST Group. So I would like to invite you to share your stories. Okay.
Okay. Hi. Can everybody hear me properly? Fine.
Yes.
Okay.
Perfectly.
Sweet. I do have a short presentation to share. But I'm going to keep mine quite simple. So I usually like to not dive deeper into like the company because I think a lot of the Q&A will actually cover that aspect already. So I'll probably dive a bit deeper into the more personal stuff and why I started, my surrounding while growing up, and the whole ideation side of things, right? And it's basically just to show people that it could start from something very, very, very simple. It doesn't have to be extremely complicated. Like you don't have to have parents who are like scientists in like 5 different countries, right, to start a food tech company. So yeah, can you guys see my screen?
Sure. Okay.
Full screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So hi everybody. My name is Travin. I'm the founder and CEO of CRUST Group. So okay, essentially, before the idea started, right, I'll just share a little bit about my upbringing. So I come from your typical brown family. So like my mom is the kind of person where if she cooks for the family today, and if the family don't finish the food today, she will incorporate it into something new tomorrow, just to make sure that we do not have a lot of waste, right? And I think that's quite predominant in Asian culture in general also. It's just we always forget about it. We don't remember stuff like that. And she also used to always, even till today, right? She will always reuse the packaging materials again and again and again until there's like severe wear and tear before she discard it. So, and then on the other side, my dad is the sort of person where he is extremely strict. And he's the kind of person where when I passed my O levels when I was 16 years old, right? He came back home from work at night. He went to me and he was like, okay, congrats, son. Now you're a big boy. Tomorrow onwards, right, I will not be giving you a single cent. So that sort of background, right, where I've had to actually work since I was 17. and gain all this different experience, right? And then at the same time, also try and create something of value started, essentially. So different phases of my life. So yeah, after my uni, or rather in between my uni, I was actually in the Singapore Navy for 6 years, and I was doing navigation. And I actually did my degree part-time, majoring in business management while in the Navy. So the plan was I wanted to pay off, because I'm the fourth kid in the family and I'm the last child. I didn't want to be a burden, so I wanted to just do my own degree, pay for it myself, be able to afford it. And then when I graduated, I don't want to have any debt. So when I graduated sometime in 2017, mid 2017, I left the Navy in September 2017. Thereafter, I was in the finance sector for about 2 years, and CRUST actually started as my side hustle. So I was actually managing 2 different jobs at a point of time. It was only through Grow, when I pitched. I think Grow started around June last year, and it was, I think we pitched in August, and it was only during that phase where we finally actually raised our pre-seed round. So we bootstrapped for a while, raised our pre-seed round, and then in December last year was when I actually tendered my resignation in the finance sector to focus on this full-time. So technically, I've only been in CRUST full-time for about 7 months right now. Yeah, just slightly more than 6 months. So the idea, right? So again, upbringing is where my mom comes in, and so this was sometime in 2018 when I was doing a bit more research, right, on the preservation of just a bit more research on beer. And I was also very avid, I'm an avid home brewer then. I just went on YouTube, learned as much how I could actually brew beer, bought the kit at home, tried different aspects. And then I grew a real interest for it. And then I started doing a bit more research on the more science side of brewing a beer, like the history and everything, right? And what are the early, because people don't understand that malt was not available like 100, 200, 300 years ago, right? It, like, beer was made through the preservation of something, right? And then only people found out that, okay, we can just grow the malt side of things a few years later. So in Egypt, right, and a lot of older, a lot of different countries, the preservation of bread is one of the oldest forms of making beer. And that's exactly, that kind of became my eureka moment. So what I did was I went home, I bought some different types of bread, and I made 2 batches of beer first, and it turned out super bad. So of course you learn a bit more, right? I traveled to California in like early 2019, and then I visited 11 different breweries in California, just to learn a bit deeper from the various different home brewers and the different contract brewers. Came back to Singapore in February last year, and then did a couple more batches with a much higher success rate. It even tasted pretty good by then, right? And then I started the whole idea of, like, I wanted to start a company that puts value and profit side by side, right? A lot of people feel like if you just focus on value, you become an NGO, right? A non-government organization or a charity. And if you focus on profit, then you become a corporate, right? But we could very much put both aligned. So, and the idea was to just start a brewing company. It was never to start a food tech company. So yeah. So one thing led to another. From between September 2019 up until like June last year, we were just a brewing company. And the picture that you see previously, the guy beside me is Ben. He's my COO. He's also a friend of mine for 13 years. The both of us were in the company ever since November. And we never knew that we were actually going to transition into a food tech company. But then that was essentially where Grow came into the picture. They were our very first startup accelerator program. I personally never knew how big the startup ecosystem was until I started that journey, and was, of course, quite fortunate that they brought us in. We were one of the startups accepted into their program. Through the program, we worked with the different analysts, right, and the different groups, right, and they basically look at your business model, the idea behind it, your product, the innovation around it, your consumer focus, and stuff like that. And then one thing led to another, and we then slowly started our transitioning into a food tech company. People always ask me, so have you already transitioned into a food tech company? My answer is no, because I feel like you never stop transitioning, because the moment you feel like you have had everything figured out, that's pretty much where you start to fail. So the idea is that I will continue to transition and always have the mentality that I will continue to transition into something better. So right now, the company is much bigger. We're not just a product anymore. We are a full-fledged company. And the mission is to empower businesses in food service and retail to repurpose their food waste and loss, reducing global food loss by 1% by 2030. And essentially what we do as a company is that we have two models within the company. One is the product side, where we work with very large bakeries and very large charities using bread and rice, which are the two most common food waste in Singapore and even Japan also, to then make our own flagship brand. And then with this, we actually enter into various different retail platforms like supermarkets, your restaurant, your bars, even e-commerce platform. And that's where we focus a lot on the B2C side of the company, right? But then on the other hand, we are transitioning into the more B2B angle, which is our service side, which is where instead of just making our own brand, we come in and we become the R&D partner of other F&B companies. It could be companies, group level companies who generate a lot of food waste. It could be hospitality companies like hotel. It could also be aviation industry because they also do generate a lot of their own food waste. So essentially what we do is that we come in, we'll always look at their top 5 surplus ingredients that they generate in abundance of, and then we co-create a product for them. And that's essentially what we do. So risk of climate change. So I'm just going to delve a little bit deeper. So a lot of companies out there are very B2B focused, right? Very much in the background. And a lot of these sort of companies have innovation and product, right? That consumers cannot see. And that is why consumers do not really understand. So we come from a different perspective whereby we focus a lot on the consumer angle, right? We want to be able to educate. We want to be able to use our platform not just to make products, but at the same time also create content to educate consumers. It could be as simple as social media. It could also be as simple as having enough information on our label so that people can understand. And every single new brand that we bring into the market, the first few products, we make sure that we don't make products that are too complicated. And that is why the very first product that we got into the market was a bread beer, right? It is something that everybody can enjoy, right? Everybody loves beer, right? You just have a beer and then you realize, oh, apparently it's made from surplus bread, right? And then we also started introducing, when people started realizing our brand and understanding it a bit better, we then slowly started introducing different types of beer made from different types of surplus into the market. With rice, for example, we have even done one with a mixture of pumpkin and quinoa. So pumpkin and pineapple is quite interesting because a lot of restaurant and bars, right, will use the flesh, but a lot of people don't use the core, the rind, the peel, and even the seed. When even all those products actually have a lot of flavor and a lot of functionality as well. So what we do is we incorporate all those. We have even used like coffee, tea leaves, etc. So this is just a whole host of stuff that we have done. Different types of bread, grain, even fruits and vegetables. So we have a new brand called Crop coming into the market by Q4 this year. It is our version of a non-alcohol beverage. So it's anywhere between a soda and sparkling water. And we are also working with a Japanese company right now to use their parabiotic to make sure that their product is functional at the same time. And so the last point is a bit interesting because we have also used tropical plants locally in Singapore. For example, there's a tropical plant in Singapore called Ulam Raja, which has got very interesting green mango notes and tropical notes. And it is predominantly used in like Malay cuisine. And these are stuff that people tend to forget because why we use a plant and why we are continuously finding for local produce like different types of plants as a substitute is because a lot of our food waste comes from trade. It's not just from businesses, it's not just from consumers, it's from trade as well, right? By the time a certain product reaches its destination, it might lose 10-15% of yield because of the operation and supply chain aspect of things, right? And we want to try and mitigate all that from a supply chain perspective as well. And that is why we have been looking for a lot of different tropical plants in Singapore to use it as a hop substitute. Because if I can find a good amount of it, I will be a lot less dependent on hops being flown in from New Zealand, US, UK, etc., right? And therefore also wholeheartedly being a lot indirectly also reducing food waste. So we don't just look at the R&D aspect and upcycling aspect, we actually look at the supply chain aspect of what we do as a company also. So yeah, one thing led to another. We started with 1 people, then we became 2 packs, and now we have a team of 7 people across Singapore and Japan. We just set up a representative office in Taiwan, and we also just passed our Board of Investigation or BOI application for Thailand. So we're also in discussion with a couple of manufacturing companies in Thailand for crop production or non-alcohol production, non-alcohol beverage production. So yeah, things have grown quite interestingly. So the guy in the blue t-shirt, blue shirt on the extreme right is my dad. Yeah, he's not very happy. I have no idea why. So the guy beside him is Paul Foster. So there's another angle where we come in, right? Again, we focus a lot on consumer and we focus a lot on having an easy and fun application for different technologies. And Paul Foster is our brand ambassador in Singapore. He's a media and media host and also an actor. And these are the different angles that we're coming up with. We are right now also in transition of like setting up like a YouTube account, TikTok account, right? And maybe even like looking to do like a crop dance for TikTok. Again, just to make sure that we have a brand that is very, very receptive to consumers. Not so much, of course, technology is at the forefront of what we do, but we have to focus on consumers equally. So this is the management team. So myself, Ben is my COO, and Shen is our Chief Marketing Officer. And yeah, so this is our CRUST Japan product that we use bread and rice waste to actually make. So we start off, every new market that we enter, we always start with 1 product and focus on that 1 product for the first 6 months. Why so is to just get the brand out, and then when people already are receptive to the brand and they understand what we're doing, then we'll start introducing other different products into the market. And every new market that we actually enter, we use a very interesting way. So we were part of Plug and Play Thailand, and we actually use the CRUST Group logo with the Thailand word below. And the same thing for Japan. We actually entered 2 accelerator program. One was Impact Tech Osaka, the other one was Startup Bootcamp Osaka. And we did the same thing. Even though we had no product in the market, right? We just did a logo, enter into the accelerator program, right? And then just get the word out, create our network, grow our network, meet more mentors who can then make our ideas into a feasible idea in the market, and then finally build the entity after. So that's like a faster way of approaching, because by doing so, imagine if I had done that logo and I started an accelerator program and none of the mentors there feel like this idea will actually work in the market, then it makes sense for me to not even build the entity then. And that's the whole way, the whole idea of us approaching a new market actually. So yeah, Paul Foster, that's pretty much some of the posts that he have done for us so far. We started doing a lot of internal product tasting as well. That's also where Grow actually came in to help tremendously, because we used their office space as our internal tasting platform, where we invite different investors, different media companies, different food F&B people, right? And we grew our brand. So yeah, and this is our new products. So on the left side is actually a cocktail made while distilling our old beer, because the pandemic, right, affected our businesses quite a little bit. And we ended up late last year with quite a number of beers that were not sold. And again, the whole ethos within the company is to not have waste, right? And even I might be producing waste. And what do I do with it then? So what we did was we actually distilled all our beer into a liquor. And then we collaborated with a cocktail bar and we made a cocktail out of it. And then on the right side is our crop proof of concept that we already did in Japan. And we launched the proof of concept about 2 months ago. So right now we are in the process of actually, the R&D is completed. Now we are actually in the process of finding a proper manufacturing plant to actually start the manufacturing process. So yeah, that's essentially what we do as a company. And if you guys want to go and know more about us, right, you guys can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at CRUST Singapore. Thank you.
All right. This is super interesting. So I'll go first for the question. So is it hard for you, I mean, to be in an acceleration program for you and the team?
Okay, now I'm having
exciting every day, or is it like, oh my God, they give me a lot of homeworks and assignments or that kind of stuff?
it will definitely be difficult, right? If you feel like an accelerator program or you entering an accelerator program is going to be very easy or it's going to make your life easier, it's not going to be the case. But if you already want to start a startup, right, you should have that mindset that you will do anything it takes to actually grow the brand, right? So if you want that standard 9 to 5 job, or if you want anything easy, then I guess the startup world is not for you. I'm just being extremely frank.
Oh my God, I am so loving this answer. I mean, you guys listen. Okay, so what we do now is right. I mean, we give you guys a difficult times to, start and growth fast. So you need to be on a different pace. So my second question is, how do you build the team culture to accelerate? I mean, exponentially within a limited time?
Wow, it has been very difficult actually, because like right now we managed to set up a rep office because one of our colleagues, right, love Taiwan, and so maybe this is an idea of the kind of culture that, or the kind of people that we appeal towards, which is nice, right? I've only been focusing a lot on the brand and the brand value, making sure that whatever we do, right, from the product side to just running the company and just the entire mission and vision within the company, right, is of the right value. And I guess that will start attracting the right people and the right talent towards you also. Of course, you still need to go and put in a bit more effort to find people. But so, for example, Chai, who's actually our BD executive right now, she's based in Taiwan and she's been there ever since February. But essentially, I've known her for 3 years and she loves what I've done with regards to CRUST. And she approached me and she basically mentioned, okay, so from the first 3 months, I will fly to Taiwan, but I will work for you as your business development executive online, virtually. And I want you to only pay me an intern pay for the first 3 months so that I can actually take the first 3 months to prove to you that I could actually build something in Taiwan and build a rep office and bring in the right people or the right mentor. And then thereafter, right, when you're comfortable, you can pay me a full-time pay. But essentially, her personal motive is that she wants to be the general manager of CRUST Taiwan. And she managed to achieve that goal. In May, she already set up the entity there, and she even brought in certain mentors, right, and certain people who could help us set up the market there. So these are the kind of people that we actually get, thankfully. But having said that, being in Singapore, running Taiwan, and then having a market in Japan, it hasn't been easy. But you just, I guess, just wake up and just work and just hope for the best sometimes.
So there are questions from the floor. The first question is, how could you manage the food waste from the site to your company? And could you advise on the platform of logistics? I'm not sure I understand the question, but you might answer the first question. How could you manage the food waste from the site to your company? Yeah.
For production and find the food.
Yeah.
Is that the one, how to manage food waste for production and find the food waste supplier?
I think the question from Kun Sunita MFU, had you see at 11:28 a.m. No. Yeah, that one.
11:28.
Yeah.
Yes. 28 hours by Travin.
Could you? Okay. I mean, the one who asked the question.
Oh, okay. Sure. Sorry. How can you manage the food waste from the site of to your company? Could you advise on a platform for logistics? Yeah. Okay. So I will cover that. So with regards to logistics, what we realized at the start, right, is because we had a lot more moving parts, right? Because we have extra collection point, but because we had more moving parts at the beginning, we had more data, and therefore right now we are at the stage where we are actually using those data to streamline our logistics. So, for example, instead of me going down to source for my own surplus ingredients, right, and then also then using my own delivery platform to collect it, what we have done so far in Singapore is that we have teamed up with a waste management company called Alba. And essentially what Alba's job is that in the west side of Singapore, they are already working with various different F&B company collecting their food, their surplus food. But Alba then incinerates it. But then right now, we have already tied up a deal with them where we come up with a very different business model alongside them, so that instead of just incinerating, now they have other purposes for it. Yeah. So with regards to what we do, right, the supply chain has been our focus because we have to streamline that wholeheartedly. And it could also be a case where right now for crop production, for example, we are talking to a manufacturing facility in Thailand to actually manufacture our products for crop. But then we're also talking to a pineapple company, a canned pineapple company, who actually have their factory about half an hour to 45 minutes away from their manufacturing facility. So these are the kind of companies that we work with so that we will actually then mitigate a lot of the logistics costs revolving around it.
Okay, so I think there one more question before we start with Kun Rassarin. Okay, so the question from Isaac Kun Kanita. What is your unfair of or competitive advantage that no other companies can copy, and how do you control the quality and secure the raw material supplies?
So when we first started, right, the main aim is to go and meet as many F&B companies, right, and we have already secured enough deals for us to especially with the biggest one. So in Singapore, I already work with the biggest bread company called Gardenia. So these are the kind of company that we focus on even in Japan. And our unfair advantage right now is that our product, even though we start and we enter the market with the simplest product, right, but we never stop innovating. So I give you an example. We have our own food waste when I make my own beer, right? Because the byproduct of making beer is called spent grain. It's the grains where you've already extracted the sugars to make your beer, but even without the sugar quantity, I mean the sugar quality, right, it is still very nutritional. So one thing that our food scientists have actually done is that we have converted our spent grain into a pancake mix, for example. And we are going to continue refining that, right? But again, it is all about a focus level. So right now, in the next 1 to 1.5 years, our focus level will be beverage. Up until we can actually create a good enough demand for it, right, and be our presence is good enough, then when we can increase our own capabilities, right, then when the timing is right, we will bring other products into the market, and we will continue to innovate. So that's our unfair advantage, I would say.
All right, thank you very much. Super insightful. So thank you very much, Kun Travin, for your stories and also your answer. So is that possible you can help answer the question from the floor, which you could write
Sure.
it down on the chat box, so
Thank
that
you.
we can move to Kun Rassarin, our last speakers. She's Thai and she's the CEO of ListenField, which is building and agtech startups and also accelerated by Grow. So please welcome Kun Rassarin ครับเชิญเลยครับ
สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ
Can you hear me clearly?
Exactly, perfectly.
Okay, nice. I'm delighted to be here to tell you my story. And it's a story about the company I co-founded, ListenField, how we use technology to make life better for farmers and for the rest of us. Before going into the detail of how we come with the idea and technology, I want to share with you that I grew up in Bana, the village of paddy fields in Nakhon Nayok province. I hope all of you know about Nakhon Nayok is like 100 kilometers away from Bangkok. I was a typical Thai girl, and I was a good student, but never the best. I did not like the routine of standing in the sun for assembly each morning before school begins. So I tried to sneak over the school fence just before the class began, which was not a good long-term strategy. So I found a better way. I volunteered to help look after the school's computer every morning. It was from that I learned to write antivirus computer programs. So programming is still an important part of my life to this day. And one thing led to another. And one day I found myself with a degree of computer studies from King Mongkut Institute of Technology, Lat Krabang. I was usually for a country girl to it at that time is not usual as a country girl to study computer science. And then I continue to study from Asian Institute of Technology, AIT. the neighbor of NSTDA. My research was utilizing advanced image processing technology to convert two-dimensional digital images into accurate three-dimensional shapes of coral. In so doing, we were able to monitor the growth and determine the health of coral reefs. I then turned my interest to agriculture. A proud moment for me was the success we had in broadcasting in real time images of spinach plants growing in Chiangdao, Thailand, to Japan. A Japanese consumer at the University of Tokyo can get real-time information from our sensors. Our sensor monitor soil acidity, availability of water, temperatures, moisture in the air. In addition, our technology helps to anticipate changes in weather patterns. And why this is important? Japan used to import spinach from other countries but found chemical residues and need to find another source of supply. When properly processed, interpreted, and analyzed, the Chiangdao images and information allow Japanese consumers to see with their own eyes how we in Thailand are growing fresh organic spinach using the minimal amount of fertilizers. We won the confidence of Japanese consumers at the time. They know that the source of supply and can see the spinach plants in the field in real time. Like back then, this is the station that we set up on 2006. There was no internet in Chiangdao, a remote part of Thailand. So we improvised. We built field server, this station, essentially computer that process the data on site in the field to economize the information that was then transmitted via IP star satellite to computer that broadcast data and images of spinach fields on screen. So in short, our technology empowered huge-tribe farmers in Thailand to grow fresh organic spinach that won Japanese consumer confidence. The project also attracts such a wide interest that more Japanese academics visit the area. They carry grant more scholarship to huge-tribe students to further their education. I then received my Researcher Exchange Program scholarship from the National Agriculture Research Institute of Japan. Professor Kiyoshi Honda was my advisor who guided me to do a PhD dissertation at Chubu University in Nagoya. And at that time, my dissertation at Chubu is API integration platform for agronomic models. Definitely not a catchy title, but I believe that our work could be an important contribution to precision agriculture because it provides insight into three things that are most important for all plants. First is soil. I give an example of Japan. Japan already surveyed and determined the quality and profile of the country's topsoil, the top 15 centimeters. Using data and deeper soil samples, I built what I call soil fusion models that assess the soil profile deeper down to 60 centimeters anywhere in Japan. This information is available for everyone using API. Second is climate and weather conditions. For this, I use 30 years of climatological data as the benchmark. This weather pattern data is used to more accurately predict seasonal weather conditions at precise locations with the help of on-site sensors. These sensors monitor rainfall and combined with past data can be used to anticipate short-term trends. They also monitor moistures and other factors that are important for plant growth. That is, our model will provide detailed and timely data on climate conditions, as well as their outlook at precise location anywhere in Japan. And the third is cultivar coefficient. It means that plants, each with their unique genotypes, will grow and reproduce differently in response to changing environmental conditions. The cultivar file that ListenField has put together can help tell you or farmers or any stakeholder how your plants are growing under prevailing conditions. Even better, we can also tell you how your crops will turn out if they fed differently or if climate and soil condition changes. It is as if you have X-ray vision that can see the food being digested and how this food is making your body grow. Put all this together, we now have a powerful platform to produce actionable data. Farmers would be able to improve their crop yields using the right amount of fertilizers at the right places and at the right time. And this is precision agriculture. And for further develop and apply the technology, we set up ListenField Japan. The name ListenField reflects our realization that nature has always been trying to tell us many important things if we only know how to listen. Taking things one step further, ListenField is also looking at DNA sequencing of plants. The way these interacts with environmental conditions can produce qualities in fruit and vegetables that we desire, like freshness, texture, taste, nutritional content, and so on. To summarize, we collect data about environmental conditions and two-dimensional digital images. These are then processed in such a way that machine can see plants, trees, and insects in 3 dimensions. This means that we can see crop growth, measure their height, measure their performance, as well as see the insects that coexist in the area. At the same time, we are assessing soil and climate conditions like temperature and moisture and so on. Most importantly, we put all this data together and tell our user how this affects their crops day by day. And not so long ago, we forward our technology and our models to the government of Japan. It is now a part of agricultural reform policy of Japan. I believe that Japanese authorities think, as we do, that investing in an API integration platform will play an important role in transforming current agricultural practice into precision farming. How does all this come together in terms of saving the planet? In 2019, ListenField received the UNDP's Low Carbon Award. The UNDP evaluated our farming model and estimated that we would be able to deliver an average of 48 to 66% reduction of carbon dioxide emission compared to conventional farming. I have also set up ListenField Thailand 2 years ago to promote the adoption of this technology more widely in my country. And last but not least, last year we were selected to be the first cohort of a Grow football program in Singapore. This makes myself become the first Thai who joined the program, but I hope this is not only the one and will be more and more Thai to come. I have learned a lot, not just myself, but our team have learned a lot from experts that the football and the program bring, more or less food and farming industry across the world. Mentorship program of grow is the best and unique. I can say that I have joined several programs, but this is the unique in terms of expertise and the opportunity for us to be connected with the real expert in this industry. And at the end of the program, I received this award. It's a SpongeBob Award for the most key learner. And for me, I think this is very interesting way of how grow, keep tracking and monitoring how we as a cohort learn and participate in the program. And after the program, we received the investment from Kubota Japan. So we keep going. Before joining GROW and during the GROW program, we were operating in like Japan and Thailand, but right now we are growing into Vietnam, India, and the USA, and received the investment from Kubota after the program. And from now we still keep working more and more in terms of bringing our technology to improve the farm management and stakeholder to help them earn more in terms of investment, not just for farmers, but also stakeholder and especially for the environment. Yes. That's all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very inspiring, and you paved the way for all the Thai startups and SME to, look up, and then I'm sure that some of our startups here in Thailand will go after you, in the future. But I'd like to inform Joshua that in case you select Thai startup, ask me first.
Okay, will do.
Okay. So, is there any questions from the floor? To ask Kun Rassarin where? Okay. So, write it down on the chat box here. So,
Rassarin, I'm delighted to see you still kept the SpongeBob.
I really like this award. I will keep showing it everywhere.
So,
maybe Joshua can share that why this kind of award.
So I'll go first then. When you accelerated by Grow, are you like located here, or you be there in Singapore or something?
It's a fully remote program.
So so all you can pass all the programs by working here in Thailand. Right?
At that time, I was in Thailand and our team was in Japan.
All right. Amazing. Okay. First question from Kun Kanita. How do you build your team?
Wow, this is hard.
Yeah.
Actually, everyone know that a building team is the hardest. I would say the hardest thing for me.
Why it is hard for you?
It's hard because when it comes as an idea, we have idea, we have expertise, like myself and my co-founder, which is my advisor, right? Only two of us, then we have the same direction. But when we keep growing up the team, like from 2017, we just have two of us. And then last year before joining Grow program, we have 10. And then right now we have 20. So we have to make sure that we hire the right person that can see the same direction, and to help us, it should be the team that can believe in our mission, and also how to build a team that have a passion as same as when we set up the company. This also hard thing. And when we keep going up, culture is also very important. So right now in ListenField, we pay a lot of attention on creating culture, like culture of scale, that how our team can represent as a co-founder to grow up the next member that we can hire. So
This is super important. Thank you very much to confirm the ideas that team passion is crucial, and also team culture, that you need to create a climate and culture that can work together and represent the team. Okay. Next question is, could you please elaborate how do you practice and to reduce your carbon emission?
we utilize the information and the problem in the area, and then we give the recommendation to farmers that in this particular area, how to improve, how to reduce the fertilizer use. So this is the way that instead of a typical farming system or farm management practice, that farmers will give fertilizer equally throughout their plot of land. But with precision agriculture or information that we provide, then we become more specific in terms of use of fertilizer. So this is the way to reduce fertilizer use, amount of use, and how the way to use. So this can reduce the carbon emission. And at the same time, we encourage farmers to convert from traditional farming to uptake organic farming practice. This is also the way that can reduce greenhouse gas emission.
All right.
From chemical fertilizer.
So thank you. I think that's a wrap. There are a few more questions. Could you please, help answer the question in the chat and in the box? And also, last but not least, I would like to invite three of you to leave something. A message, or you're looking for strategic partners here in Thailand, and you might leave a contact for your team in the box. So some of us, whether startups or universities, would like to discuss with you privately. Okay, so start from Rassarin. Okay.
As this the part that I represent as a GROW alumni, I really encourage our Thai startup or the Thai researcher to try to be a part of GROW program, as I learned a lot from the program under viewpoint of technology and under viewpoint of how experts across the globe think and execute in food and farming technology.
Okay, thank you. So could you leave your contact here in the box as well? Okay, so move to Travin. Please leave something here for all of us. Or you are, okay.
Yeah, okay, at least for me, I'll keep it quite short and simple, right? I will not be where I am like a year from now. I think it's been actually more than a year ever since I started at GROW. I would not have been here if I did not, if I wasn't a part of the Singapore football program. So, of course, you learn a lot, but at the same time, they also open up a lot of different avenues for you. And you meet a lot of different mentors, right? That even till today, I still actually do speak to them. Like, I'm actually going to have a conversation with Emma next week. Yeah. So, and this regarding like Australia, for example, right? So you never know when the opportunity might arise. You just have to bear in mind that not a lot of opportunities will come to you like immediately, right? Because it's always a stepping stone and for you to go and learn and grow, right? But it will come eventually. Things will come back to you. Yeah. Aside from that, of course, we are entering Thailand soon, and we are looking at manufacturing facilities in Thailand. We would love to work with any companies who know manufacturing facility or who actually knows, because we know that mango and pineapple wastage in Thailand is huge, and we want to be able to go and reduce that while making crop. So yeah, happy to go and speak to anybody who can help, and we're also raising our seed funding if anybody's interested.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Please leave your contact here as well. So go back to Joshua. Please leave something and try to sneak a little bit about what we are about to do together. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So look, it's wonderful to be part of, and so as you can tell, we're keen to connect with what's happening in Thailand. So yeah, if there's any partners or infrastructure or on-ground Thailand facilities that can support startups, we'll be happy to connect with you. In terms of startups from Thailand, look, we really encourage you to just engage with us because we want to help you flourish. And I guess the work that we'll be doing with Foodnopolis. So we will be collaborating on the Southeast Asia Food Bowl. So keen to support Thai startups through this platform.
All right. Thank you very much, Joshua and Kun Travin, and also Kun Rassarin, to share your stories, your inspiring stories and experience with us. And hopefully we can discuss our collaborations further. I mean, for me and Joshua and the startups with some potential partners here as our audience. So thank you very much. All right. So Pia would like to end up, get a wrap a little bit, half
I think it's noon already, so I'll be very, very short. So thank you very much, Joshua and Travin and Rassarin. I think it's been inspiring sessions, and we learned a lot. And I think there's some you shares how you walk the way from the beginning to up to now. I think that that's mean a lot to us. And Joshua, we will back to you again soon. And I think maybe sometime next week we get to meet online again.
Okay, thank you. So for the audience, in this afternoon, we also have our special talk number 7. So my team, could you please bring up the poster for this afternoon session for the audience who might miss communication, so they know that we have our another session in the afternoon, which is also very important. Golf Note Nick เปิดสไลด์ตัวที่เป็นโปสเตอร์ใบนี้ครับ Alright then, so this afternoon at 2 p.m. บ่าย 2 โมงนะครับ so we have special talk number series number 7. The topic will be a strategic partner selection for startups, which we are so honored to have two Thai startups, Dr. Wasan and Kun Rangsan from QQ, to share the experience that how they build their teams and how they build their business, and also how they select their partners. So this one will be very benefits for all of the audience. So looking forward to see you in this afternoon. We will start 10 minutes before 2 p.m. So come and join us again. So thank you for this morning session. ขอบคุณครับ สวัสดีครับ
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for the opportunity, guys.
Okay, see you, Joshua, soon.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
See you. Bye.
bye.
Bye